Part 76. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 769. When performing the last enhancement, Ililo felt as if he was in warm water, and a warm feeling spread throughout his body. In the outside world, the walls around Ililo are releasing energy radiation towards Ililo in the middle, allowing the super genes in his body to absorb it and quickly replace the fragile flesh and blood cells. This process lasted for more than a month before Ililo's body cells were replaced with super cells with super genes as the core, becoming like a whole at the microscopic level. At this point, Ililo's body is completely finalized. His body can absorb the ubiquitous light radiation in the universe to maintain the body's regular exercise consumption. And the most important thing is that Ililo's body can finally carry his powerful power. But this time, Ililo was no longer tested by a cold machine, but by a judgment angel. Ililo didn't just run naked. The special black power armor covered Ililo's entire body inside. The armor has sharp edges and corners, even the joints, and there is no missing protection. Combined with the metal cross-section patterns left by the designer, Ililo looks very mysterious and luxurious at this moment, like a metal statue standing there. Judgment Angel Nolan, who was temporarily arranged to be a tester, looked with interest at Ililo, who was getting familiar with his armor. "You look good in this outfit, but I don't know if you are qualified enough for me to come all the way to be your tester. I believe you also know how powerful our Judgment Angel is. Don't hold back on me, otherwise you won't even have a chance to fight back." Nolan's words had a hint of condescension, which is almost a common problem among the Judgment Angels. Of course, other than this, most of their characters are simply perfect. Because from the beginning, most of the angels were loyal to the leader of the Justice World, Binghua, rather than the Justice World itself, which was just a name to them. If you want these proud angels to respect and look up to the residents of the righteous world, you need both parties to have the same level of power. There is another way, that is, the two sides work together to understand each other until they accept each other, and nothing can speed up this process more than war. However, there is still a long way to go. When Binghua strengthened the combat effectiveness of the Justice World Legion, he did not forget to vigorously cultivate the Judgment Angels under his command. Although it is possible to carry out a god-building project with the size of the righteous world, it will greatly delay the development speed. Therefore, in the two departments of Judgment Angel and Angel Legion, except for some angels who have made outstanding military exploits and have been promoted to god-level angels, most angels have entered the ranks of high-level angels belonging to the strong with the investment of huge resources. Nolan, who is currently testing Iliro, is the leader among the Judgment Angels, a high-level angel, equipped with the standard weapon Fan Shenjian, Pajun Type 2. Ililo didn't reply. How could he reply? To be honest, he felt very guilty now. You must know that before receiving the strengthening, he was still a mortal who was powerless in the eyes of angels. Ililo raised the pitch-black sword in his hand and pointed it at Nolan. The straight and thick blade had no extra decoration, but as the holder, Ililo knew how much energy was stored inside this sword. Seeing that Ililo was ready, Nolan stopped talking nonsense, pulled down his helmet and visor, unfolded the angel wings behind his back, bent his knees slightly, and rushed out like a cannonball in the next moment. Ililo's eyes behind the helmet's goggles opened slightly nervously, his attention focused as never before, and Nolan's originally invisible figure gradually came into view clearly. Ililo did not hesitate, his armored body nimbly dodged to one side, and he did not forget to slash down with the sword in his hand. There was a buzzing sound, and Nolan was surprised to spin a few times in the air to remove the backlash from Fan Shenjian. The angel wings on his back fluttered to stabilize his figure. Ililo didn't feel very comfortable. The huge repulsive force made him take several steps back, leaving several slightly collapsed footprints on the alloy ground. The weapon in his hand almost came out, but what amazed everyone, including the observers, was that Ililo actually blocked the flying attack of the high-level Angel and was not knocked away. You must know that the initial speed of a raid launched by a high-level Angel is comparable to a supersonic aircraft in the atmosphere. Coupled with the huge power of the Super Warrior itself, a small spacecraft can pierce through without a shield. Although high-level Angels cannot use distance to increase their attack speed and accumulate kinetic energy due to limited space, this is not something ordinary beings can block. Seeing that Ililo had something, Nolan became somewhat interested, and accelerated directly in front of Ililo. She did not intend to use her speed and mobility advantages to carry out the swimming battle that she was good at. After all, she was here to test Ililo. Extreme combat effectiveness. The next moment, the harsh roar of the collision between Fan Shenjian and the jet black sword resounded throughout the entire test room. The spreading shock waves continuously hit the surrounding solid alloy walls, causing the entire test room to tremble. Facing the approaching Nolan and her fierce offensive, Iliro could only struggle to deal with it even though he had rich combat experience. This was despite Nolan not deliberately targeting Ililo's flaw. After a few minutes, Ililo finally couldn't hold on anymore. The sword in his hand flew out and stuck vertically into the alloy floor not far away. He sat down on the ground. Nolan shook his head in disappointment, stopped attacking, put away the Fan Shenjian, turned and walked towards the exit of the testing room, while also expressing his own evaluation. The strength and speed are not quite there yet, and the level of hand-to-hand combat needs more practice. The researchers who watched this test were not disappointed, because the third generation of super-modified warriors was originally designed to compromise the expensive cost of super warriors. It was expected that the project initiated by the goddess herself would not be as good as the original version. Although Ililo himself was a little unwilling to be defeated so easily by Nolan, he soon realized that he had been fighting a high-level Judgment Angel just now, and he had lasted for so long. You must know that the immortals who spent a lot of money in Fanshan World can only eat ashes behind the high-level angels, and can barely bully the angel recruits who have just joined the Judgment Angel sequence. Ililo had just finished the test, and the results had been uploaded to Binghua Between the Thrones. Looking at the battle between the two sides in the projection, Binghua rubbed his smooth chin a few times. The strength has finally reached the minimum standard of the third-generation super soldiers, which is enough for the formation of a new legion. However, as a legion in group combat mode, they should be assigned some cutting-edge long-range firepower to make up for their weakness in close combat. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 770. After thinking for a while and carefully sifting through his own knowledge reserves, Binghua found that it was difficult to improve the power of individual firearms except for finding ways to use the warhead of ammunition. However, handheld miniature dark matter railguns, high-temperature plasma melt guns, and heavy blasters seem to be good supplementary solutions. If you want to change the warhead of blaster ammunition, this requires the joint efforts of Makra and other worlds. In fact, in recent years, some scholars have proposed some kind of material that can restrain dark matter. However, this material is still under development, and there is no definite news yet. If this material is successfully developed, we can consider changing the warhead from high-energy ions to dark matter that can undergo annihilation reactions. Or find another way to develop a special molecular tearing weapon. Binghua once accidentally developed a special weapon that can pull the molecules of an object through a force field. However, because it requires contact to trigger the effect, and it can only affect solid and liquid substances, it takes too long. In the end, this weapon was sealed in the weapons arsenal by Binghua and ate dust. On the other hand, due to the imperfection of the theory, it is temporarily difficult to apply this technology or weaponize it on a large scale. None of this could stop Binghua from vigorously promoting the Third Army establishment. After the data of Ililo and a few prototypes reached expectations, the third-generation super-modified warrior army project was immediately launched. All other temporarily useless resource consumption had to be compromised for this project, and almost all expedition plans in various worlds were suspended. Every resource planet that has discovered precious mineral veins is fully engaged in mining, no longer caring about the integrity of the star. The planet-cracking mining method that was originally only used on useless asteroids has also been lifted. Officers and soldiers like Alilo who had risen to prominence in the last war were drawn out of the original army one after another. With their consent, they were all transferred to the God's Throne world to become candidates for the new Super Legion members. The massive army building plan, after mobilizing the huge manpower and material resources of the entire world of justice, the Super Legion is undergoing new changes every day. The number of supporting special models of demigod V-type powered armor, light and heavy weapons, and various support equipment, as well as the special models of destruction-class heavy-armed assault ships carrying them, is increasing every day. After Binghua made the general decision, he began to prepare his neutron blade and various equipment and weapons in his arsenal. Alan is also stepping up his training with the 2nd Angel Legion under his command. Kaza of the 1st Angel Legion is also continuing to expand the size of his army, recruiting warriors who are willing to fight for a just world. The Judgment Angels also, under Rand's instructions, freed the high-level Judgment Angels from the complicated daily affairs, and at the same time promoted a large number of new angels to participate in daily affairs. The high-level Judgment Angels who have escaped from things are also stepping up to familiarize themselves with their current power and learn new fighting methods and tactics. The reason for this is because everyone knows that the Queen has been angered by several attacks by the Eternal Ascended One, and now it has reached a point where the world of justice cannot continue to develop stably unless this threat is eliminated. After all, every large-scale war is a huge consumption of resources and energy, which often wastes the resources that the righteous world has accumulated for a long time. At this point, the Justice World line has fallen into a period of stability. The Eternal Ascended One and the Chaos Virus are still fighting fiercely in the Purified Star territory. Both of them are existences that do not care about civilized public opinion and logistics. There is no need to maintain the so-called morale. As long as there are resources and biological energy, you can keep fighting. Binghua once did a strategic deduction. Whether it is the Chaos Virus or the Eternal Ascended One, when one of the two disappears, whoever is left will be an extremely difficult enemy, because the other party may launch invasion wars year after year. Let any civilization fall into a fruitless war of attrition until all war potential is consumed and it is completely devoured by it and becomes the nourishment for its own growth. That's why Binghua deliberately accumulates the power of the world of justice. She will not take the initiative to attack until she can defeat the Chaos Virus and the Eternal Ascended One in one fell swoop and decide the outcome in a single battle. The success of the 3rd generation Super Reformed Warrior project is her confidence. If the number of Super Legions is enough, Binghua has the confidence to rub the Eternal Ascended Ones and Chaos Virus on the ground. But this takes time, and Binghua can afford to wait. The last thing she lacks is time. When Binghua was accumulating strength in the world of justice, and Merlot Heavenly Court Kesha was sitting on the throne of the King of Gods, they were in a galaxy far away from the place where all the major civilizations in the known universe met. After decades of sailing with hidden traces, Ka and a group of Dino survivors finally arrived at their destination, a relatively remote and hidden planet system. Look at the star that is quietly blooming with warm brilliance in the starry sky of the universe and the 8 planetary bodies of different sizes orbiting around it. Ka didn't know what was so special about this planetary system that it should be called the Chiwa star system, but he knew that if he wanted to get the answer, he had to set foot on the 3rd planet in the planetary system, the Earth. Dino's spacecraft turned on covert mode and arrived at the Earth's atmosphere, but no detection equipment was found, which puzzled Ka and the Dino survivors. But now that he has come, Ka naturally wants to enter the Earth to explore, otherwise his trip will be in vain. After entering the atmosphere, the Dino survivors found that the planet's natural environment was very good, with suitable oxygen content and light, making it very habitable. Kaya frowned and thought, could it be that the space principal gave him the coordinates here just to find a planet suitable for them to survive? This is too much trouble. But soon Kaya and a group of Dino survivors discovered that there was already civilization on the planet called Earth, but it was still extremely primitive and was in the cold weapon period of the pre-nuclear era. However, this is not a problem for Kaya and other Dino people. As long as the Dino civilization is re-established on this planet, the civilization on this planet will become part of the future Dino civilization. Moreover, both Dexing and Noxing have experienced the era of the Kamigawa Pan-Civilization Alliance. As long as they are Kamigawa creatures, they are all considered to be the same large biological species, but their cultures and customs are different, and there is no essential difference. And just when Kaya was showing off his grand plans in his mind, preparing to start the first step of rebuilding Dino here one step at a time, a sentence suddenly came from the tree nearby, interrupting Kaya's imagination about the future. These aliens, landed here without my permission. And from the looks of it, you seem to be planning to stay here for a long time. Tell me, Lao-san, who are you and what is the purpose of coming to China? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 771. Kaya, Lianfeng, and other Dino survivors heard the sound and looked in one direction. What caught their sight was a man wearing golden armor, a furry monkey face, a golden crown on his head, golden shoes on his horns, and a long alloy stick on his shoulder. The presence. This shocked everyone present, because the beastly features of the face and body reminded the Dino people present of the once greatest enemy of the Kamigawa civilization, the beast body civilization. Kaya quickly signaled the Dinos present to be alert, and Shun Yuan immediately hid in a corner. She set up the god-killing sniper rifle in her hand, and pointed the muzzle at the figure standing in the tree. You aliens from the outside world are really ignorant. If I really do it, none of you will survive. Seeing that the warrior of the beast body civilization seemed to have no intention of taking action, Kaya also signaled to others present not to fire, and after pondering for a moment, he spoke. We are a group of refugees whose hometown was destroyed, and we have been drifting in the universe for hundreds of years. I passed by this planet not long ago and saw that there were no traces of civilization here, so I landed here and wanted to settle down here. It turns out they were just a group of refugees. No wonder they are in such a mess. Thanks to the love of the residents here, I am the protector of this land of China. It's not impossible for you foreigners like you to want to settle here, but you must remember that you must do something evil to affect the residents of this land of China. Otherwise, I, old son, will not agree to the dark alloy rod in my hand. After saying this, Sun Wukong turned around and prepared to leave, but the figure turned around and added another sentence. And don't take my old grandson's words to heart. Nothing you do here can escape my old grandson's eyes. After saying this, Sun Wukong jumped into the sky and turned into a small dot and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Kaya breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this. Others present when he faced Sun Wukong just now may not have felt it, but Kaya, who faced him directly, knew very well that the extreme sense of oppression was not something ordinary beings could give. It was an absolute crushing at the level of dark energy. The existence named Sun Wukong just stood there and caused Kao to feel uncomfortable with the fluctuations of dark energy. As a supergenetic engineer, Lian Fen walked to Kaya and whispered. The being named Sun Wukong just now is a genuine fighting god. I am an expert in this field, and my eyes will never be wrong. Moreover, what he was wearing was not ordinary armor, and his technical level was not something that ordinary god-making civilizations could achieve. And just now I noticed that my dark plane information had been scanned. The other party's eyes should have the function of reading and analyzing dark information, so we must be careful in our next move. Cao nodded and temporarily extinguished the idea of rebuilding Dino immediately. The most important thing now is to establish a foothold here first, and according to the meaning of the words just now, as long as you abide by the rules here, nothing will happen. After Sun Wukong left the group of extraterrestrial visitors, he returned to his residence. First, he lit a few incense sticks in front of the memorial tablets of his teacher and creator Wu Cheng'en, that is, Master Wu of Super Seminary, and let him relax. Combustion. The reason for doing this is actually because Sun Wukong saw the residents of the land of China paying homage to their relatives and worshipping gods, so he did it. He himself was tried to be a god by the residents of the land of China. Naturally, he did not believe in these things, and he knew that doing so was actually useless. But on the other hand, he did it, which has to be said to be ironic. As for why the name Wu Cheng'en is engraved on the tablet of Master Wu, it is because Master Wu followed the local customs and chose a name with local characteristics based on the culture of China. Master, today I met a group of aliens. Their strength is not weak, at least stronger than the people of China, but I, old son, can still suppress them. You once said that as long as you have the same body as us, speak the same Kamigawa language, and agree with our ethics, you are not an enemy. So I didn't drive them away. I hope they can integrate here and become part of the people of China and don't do stupid things, otherwise I will have no choice but to kill them. Sun Wukong muttered to himself. After lighting the incense, he cleaned his master's morning hall, then left and went to the cliff outside, where he sat down and looked down at the land of China below. He has secretly protected this land for thousands of years. His master passed his words and language to the people of this land of China and taught them ethics and morality. As the disciple of his master, Sun Wukong naturally has the obligation to pass on the culture of China until they can protect themselves. This is the task and responsibility Sun Wukong has set for himself. On the other side, with the passage of time, Kaya and a group of Dino survivors gradually integrated into the life of China. Because some Sun Wukong warned them before, they did not act independently. On the other hand, because the language used in China is the orthodox Kamigawa language, there are no communication barriers between the two sides. Kaya, as the actual leader of this group of Dino survivors, took the lead in taking a Chinese name named Tukeo to better integrate into this land. After some time, when Tukeo was leading some Dino survivors to build a new home for himself and others in this valley, Sun Wukong came to the door. It seems that you listened to my old grandson's words and did not do anything to harm the people of China. Sun Wukong said casually, startling some of the people below. Great sage, you came here unexpectedly, but what are your orders? Tukeo was the first to speak and broke the silence. He bowed respectfully to Sun Wukong before speaking. It's okay, can't I, my old grandson, come and take a look? Sun Wukong said as he jumped down from the tree and landed easily next to Tukeo. To be honest, I, old son, are actually quite curious about these extraterrestrial visitors. I have been here for thousands of years, and you are the second batch of extraterrestrial visitors that I, old son, have met. But last time, the Birdman beat my old grandson and then left. As a result, my old son wanted to go back to the place, but there was no place to look for her. There's no need to call me Grand Sage Sunday, this is just a name given to me by the people. You don't need to worry about it. Just call me by my name. Sun Wukong doesn't like beating around the bush, and most of the people in China will be frightened and speechless when they meet him, so he hasn't spoken to anyone for a long time. After a brief exchange with Tukeo and others last time, Sun Wukong found that the alien visitors were not very afraid of him, so after observing these people for a while, he ran out scratching his head and took the initiative to talk to Tukeo. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 772. Tukeo listened to the various nouns and words that kept coming out of Sun Wukong's mouth, and felt that the information content was very rich. To be honest, after experiencing the destruction of Dino and the pursuit of the burning sun, Takeo has changed a lot in the past. He always thought that he was right and didn't like to listen to other people's high-pitched opinions. But Dino's destruction made him realize that although he, Takeo, had outstanding abilities, he was not a god who could calculate everything. He would make mistakes sometimes, and sometimes the price of mistakes was too high for him to bear. Therefore, when it was discovered that Sun Wukong was powerful and his background was probably unusual, he had no intention of violating Sun Wukong's words. During this period, in addition to establishing a base for the Dinos, he settled into the land of China. Faced with Sun Wukong's chatting, Takeo was actually quite happy, which showed that Sun Wukong was not a very arrogant person. "You're telling me that there's only been one other time aliens have come to this planet before us?" "Yes, I have lived here for thousands of years and have witnessed countless changes in the land of China. You are the second batch of aliens that I have seen." "That's what you call them, right?" Takeo nodded and chatted with Sun Wukong about the history of this land. Sun Wukong was also happy to share the culture and traditions of China with others. After chatting for a while, and with Takeo's deliberate flattery, Sun Wukong felt that Takeo's words were very to his liking, and he immediately started talking to his brother, talking about Lao Du, as if the two had known each other for many years. After getting acquainted with each other, Sun Wukong also asked what happened to Takeo's hometown and how he became a refugee. "The hometown I used to live in was called Nyoxing. The environment there was pretty good, with tall buildings and an orbital lifting system that reached the sky. Viewed from the ground, the night sky was filled with shining lights. But later, due to the conflict between my hometown and the people of Liang, the star, which is what you call the sun, was detonated by the sun god of Liang. My subordinates and I only had time to lead a small group of tribesmen to escape from that disaster. After wandering in the universe for a long time, we escaped from the pursuit of the Liang stars and came here." Takeo sighed and took a sip of wine. Sun Wukong also cast a comforting look at Takeo after hearing this. "By the way, Wukong, I heard you say before that there was a group of people who came here before us. Can you tell us in detail who they are?" Sun Wukong hesitated for a moment, but Takeo became interested when he saw this. "What? Old Sun, do you have something to hide? In that case, I won't ask." The more Takeo said this, the more embarrassed Sun Wukong became without saying anything. After a while, he broke the jar and threw it. Lao Sun, told Lao Du, "Don't laugh at me." Don't worry, I will never laugh at you." Takeo did not take Sun Wukong's words to heart and promised that he would never laugh. "As I said, my master was still alive at that time, the people of China had not yet had their own culture, and I had just been born with wisdom not long ago. One day when my old grandson was galloping in the wild, he suddenly saw a shooting star falling from the sky. I was curious and ran over to take a look. As a result, when we got closer, I realized that it was not a meteor, but a birdman with wings on its back. Then, for some reason, old Sun, got into a fight with that birdman." Sun Wukong grinned when he said this, and it was obvious that what happened next was not very friendly to him. How is the result? As a qualified admirer, Takeo would naturally not be uninterested in letting Sun Wukong perform a one-man show, and appropriately connected the sentence to lead to the following. "The birdman that my grandson hit at first had no power to fight back, but then the birdman somehow took out hundreds of small blades that looked like feathers. Grandson, was really no match. Lao Du, let me tell you, I don't know what the birdman's weapon is made of. It's very sharp. Although I haven't tried it myself, my clone and the weapon were almost completely chopped off by her." Sun Wukong was still frightened when he talked about this. He really felt threatened at that time, and he has never forgotten the feeling of having an edge at his back. "Birdman? You should be talking about angels. The more Takeo listened, the more he felt a strong sense of déjà vu, so he asked directly. So you also know about that Birdman? When Sun Wukong heard this, he scratched the golden monkey hair next to his ear in embarrassment. Lao Sun, did you meet a male angel or a female angel? Takeo was feeling uneasy when she asked. No matter whether it was a male angel or a female angel appearing here, it was not good news for her. Although the male angels were defeated by the female angels and were driven to the edge of the known universe by them, they were still angels after all, and their strength ranked among the best in the known universe. The Dino civilization during the period of complete victory was certainly worthy of them, but who are they now? A supergenetic engineer, a sniper, some ordinary Noxian soldiers, the child of the Dino Star Prince, and his subordinate soldier the commander of Nyoxing who can't even be defeated. Seeing Takeo's serious look, Sun Wukong found that the gender of the angel seemed to be very important to him. Sun Wukong, who was originally ashamed to say that he was beaten by a woman, did not delay. Female, Lao Du. My old grandson has never been beaten since he was born. She is the first woman who gave me the idea of being invincible. Don't tell anyone else about this, otherwise I will never be able to hang out in this place in the future. Takeo breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. Female angels are okay. At least they can be reasonable. You are afraid of meeting male angels who won't reason with you. By the way, old son, do you know the name of the female angel who hit you? Lao Du, why are you asking this? Do you have thoughts about her? Sun Wukong looked at Lao Du in surprise, and then admonished. Old Du, old son, would like to advise you. That female birdman looks very arrogant at first glance, and is not someone to get along with. It would be better for you to change your target. Takeo interrupted, a little dumbfounded. Old son, what are you talking about? I just want to ask her name to see if I recognize her. Oh, it turns out you didn't tell me earlier. I heard my master call her Binghua, but the female birdman left after not staying here long. I originally got new armor and wanted to find her to do a game, but I didn't know where she was. Sun Wukong said it unintentionally, but Takeo listened with intention. When he heard the name Binghua, his expression changed. He finally knew why there was a god on this remote planet, but no one knew about it anymore. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 773. Binghua, this name only exists in the historical data of some ancient god-making civilizations in the known universe. She represents the heyday of Merlot heavenly court. Some young god-making civilizations may not know what this existence represents, but the Dino civilization, which was deeply involved with the former Divine River Pan-Civilization Alliance, is very aware of this person's weight. Morgana, the one who stirred up the turmoil in the known universe, even though she has been so arrogant in recent years, she competed with Merlot heavenly court, and even caused the death of a holy left-winger. But when Hiawa, the first holy left-winger, was in power, Morgana could only hide in the shadows and tremble, and the demons even fled after hearing the news. Now that he heard this name here, Takeo couldn't help but be shocked. The reason why the Dino remnants came here was because of the influence of the space principle, but this place was involved with one of the four kings of angels, which made Takeo think about it. Hey, Lao Du, what are you thinking about? Are you so obsessed with it? Takeo woke up and secretly lamented that he was stupid for thinking so much. Now they, the Dino remnants, are just a lost dog, with nothing worthy of being coveted by angels and space principles. It was better to make peace with it now. No matter how difficult the future was, he had to lead these Dino survivors to survive. This was not only his duty, but also atonement for the mistakes he had made in the past. Styx Galaxy, Death Song Academy. My God, the Dino remnants have arrived in the Chiwa star system and entered the Earth. There was an extremely powerful dark energy reaction on that planet, so I didn't rush into it. Snow saluted Carl, who was sitting behind the desk, and then reported the whereabouts of Ducao and his party. You did a good job, Snow, and you were right not to approach rashly. There is a powerful god protecting the planet called Earth. By the way, has Liang discovered where they settled? My god, Liang star has not discovered the location of the Chiwa star system yet. They are still investigating the traces of the Dino survivors in the surrounding star fields. It is estimated that it will take a while. That's good. The Earth is an extremely important part of my future plan. If it is targeted by the angels and the blazing sun in advance, everything will be disrupted. In this case, I will help them. After all, what they have in their hands can be regarded as the teacher's hard work. It would be a pity if it was destroyed by the blazing Sunday. Carl's idea is very simple, that is, to use a large clock to obscure the position of the Chiwa star system, so that the Sun people cannot observe it for a while. In this way, Liang can only rely on luck to find where he wants to find it, but if he wants to find an unknown planet system in the vast sea of stars, it is even less likely than De Hunken suddenly jumping out and announcing that he has been resurrected. While Liang was busy exploring the traces of Dino's remnants, and the god of death, Carl, was brewing some unknown plan. A major event also happened in the Merlot Heavenly Court. Because Ruanning's behavior has deviated from the original intention of the righteous order, as time went by some angels complained a lot about Ruanning's role as the holy left wing. Among these angels who were dissatisfied with Ruanning's behavior, except for a small number of older generation angels who felt that Ruanning had gone too far in some things, the rest were almost all new generation angels. Ruanning's condescending attitude towards ordinary civilization and his disregard for life deeply hurt the hearts of these angel warriors who cherish the ideal of fighting for justice. Kesha had reminded Ruanning several times not to overdo certain things, and to note that she was a maintainer of order, not a destroyer, and asked her to be cautious in her words and deeds. As a result, Ruanning returned to his true nature after restraining himself for a period of time, which gave Kesha the idea of replacing Ruanning. An incident that happened not long ago made Kesha firm on this idea. Not long ago, during the execution of the trial of demons on the planet Katreya, Ruanning ignored the objections of the Katreyans and directly carried out the trial. As a result, thousands of Katreyans were affected, and hundreds of thousands of Katreyans were affected. People lost their homes. Although this casualty is nothing in terms of the conflict between gods, there is a problem in itself. There are not many demons on Katreya, and it only takes a certain amount of time to clean them up, which can completely avoid such heavy casualties. Moreover, Katreya is still a civilization that believes in angels. The consequence of this is that the reputation of angels in Katreya civilization has plummeted, from angels who originally represented beauty and justice to aloof gods. When the long-lost Merlot conference was held, at the meeting Angel Ruanning and some high-level angels reported on the situation of various star fields and other civilizations. Kesha did not declare the end of the meeting as usual. She glanced at Ruanning and Angel Yan below and spoke out. In the past 4,000 years, Angel Yan has carried out many dangerous missions, safeguarded the justice of angels, and judged many evils. I believe that her achievements are obvious to all angels. Hearing this, some of the angels present couldn't help but cast their eyes on Angel Yan, who was standing in the queue, and Angel Yan was also very surprised. He didn't know why Queen Kessa suddenly mentioned this in the meeting. Angel Ruanning also completed her mission of guarding Tiancheng at this time and fulfilled her duties well. Therefore, Angel Yan will replace Ruanning as the new holy left wing and fulfill her mission of guarding Tiancheng. Kesha's light words were like a thunder explosion, and the angel's eyes kept shifting back and forth between Ruanning and Angel Yan. Ruanning opened her lips slightly, showing confusion, fright, and other emotions in her eyes. She looked at Angel Yan, and then at Queen Kessa on the throne, as if asking, why? Angel Yan, who was one of the focus of attention present, was also puzzled and at a loss. Angel Yan, are you willing to accept this important task? Take on the task of guarding Tiancheng. Kesha's words sounded at this moment, and Angel Yan suddenly regained consciousness and heard the undoubted meaning in the words. Queen Kesha, I am willing to take over this responsibility and fulfill the responsibility of guarding the celestial city. Kesha nodded slightly when she heard this, looked at Ruaning again with an expression of dissatisfaction, and frowned slightly. Angel Ruaning, do you have any objections? Ruaning suddenly woke up, wondering how he could be so disrespectful to Queen Kesha, and quickly knelt down on one knee to salute. No, I have no objection to Queen Kesha. After the mellow meeting ended, all the angels could see was Ruaning's soulless back, the once high-spirited figure disappearing without a trace. The new generation of angels are very happy that Yan has become the holy left wing. Of course, there are also some disdains, such as Leng. She doesn't understand that she and Yan became angels at about the same time. She thinks that her military achievements are no less than Yan. Why is Yan the one who became the holy left wing? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 774. Angel Leng returned to his residence, opened the database of Merlot Heaven, and used his authority to browse some information, especially the information about Yan. Leng planned to take a closer look to see how he was different from Yan. Dark energy tactics, thunder tactics, dark plane data structure. The more Leng browsed, the deeper his frown deepened, because the courses Yan studied were very complicated, and most of them were knowledge that was useless for combat. After turning off the projector, Leng scratched his hair irritably, feeling that he had no clue. In the end, he simply threw it away and gave up thinking about it. But at this moment, a communication from Queen Kesha rang. Leng, come here, I have a task for you. It's Queen Kesha, I'll be there soon. The information about the alternation of the holy left wing of the angel civilization was soon known to Binghua. When Ruaning was dismissed from his position as the holy left wing, Binghua was just happy for a moment, but nothing happened. Although Ruaning had made her feel disgusted when she was in Merlot Heaven, it was just a trivial matter. It is estimated that the defense that was broken this time was enough to make her uncomfortable for a while. If you can see through it, you might be able to hold the supreme power of an angel again in the future. If you can't see through it, you may just disappear and find a quiet and remote place to spend the rest of your life. Binghua, do you think it's time for me to retire? The people on the holy left alongside me are all in their 5th generation, but I, on the holy right, are still in the 1st generation. He 11 sighed and said, in less than 10,000 years, the left wing has changed 5 times, which made he 11 wonder whether there was any curse in this position. I heard that the person who serves as the holy left wing this time is just a little girl who is less than 5,000 years old. Her name is Yan, right? Binghua didn't pay attention to Hexie's rants and asked casually. She was still a little curious about the sacred left wing appointed by Kesha. Yes, she is a somewhat naive guy, but she still has some ability. At least she has a good reputation among the angels of her generation. Binghua nodded, which meant that Angel Yan had many supporters, which was extremely important for a holy left-winger. Otherwise, wouldn't it be embarrassing for the holy left wing, as the military commander of the angels, not to have even one follower? Later, Hexie told Binghua about one of her students, and kept complaining about this student to her. He didn't understand this or that, and he had to teach everything by himself, which was very troublesome. However, Binghua could see that although he 11 kept belittling his apprentice verbally, he actually liked him quite a bit in his heart. Otherwise, he would not have told Binghua so many things about his apprentice. This makes Binghua wonder if he also needs to accept a disciple. At least he will have someone to use when talking to Hexy and the others in the future. Otherwise, he can only roll his eyes at Hexy every time. Show off your apprentice. However, as He-11 continued to talk, Binghua finally knew the name of He-11's apprentice, Qingning. Nearly 100 years have passed since the start of the Third Army building plan, and the residents of the Just World are no longer as concerned about this aspect as they were at the beginning. But as actual participants, the leaders of each world know very well how terrifying the military power of the Just World has expanded to today. Since Fanshan World was the first to establish a stellar ring processing and manufacturing center, other worlds followed suit. By the 50th year of the Army building plan, nearly 50 worlds had established stellar ring processing and manufacturing centers. The reason why it is so fast is because of the resource control of the God's Throne world, and the construction resources of the entire righteous world are given priority to these worlds. And because of the establishment of the stellar ring, Justice World's high-end material synthesis capabilities have improved several levels compared to before. Some high-end materials that originally restricted the development of the Justice World can now be synthesized and processed in batches. With the cosmic assembly factories and docks of some forging worlds, light and heavy battleships have been incorporated into the expedition fleets of various worlds. The third-generation super-transformed legion that Binghua values the most has now successfully established 20 legions. Each legion is composed of 10 battle groups, and each battle group has a total of 1,000 third-generation super-transformed warriors. But don't underestimate these warriors just because the number of these legions is small. Each of them is equipped with Demigod V-type armor, a Pajun series Type 1 sword, and a heavy blaster. There are also various other equipment to choose from, such as high-temperature plasma melta guns, miniature dark energy rail guns, and rapid-fire multiple blasters. On the other hand, because the restrictions on materials have disappeared, the Immortal Project developed by Fanshan World and the Apocalypse Project are no longer provided solely for use by the Immortal Legion. Each of the newly established Super Legions will be equipped with 5 Apocalypse as fire support equipment, as well as a varying number of ground-heavy dual-purpose assault vehicles. In addition to the establishment of the Super Legion, in the past 100 years, the Annihilation-class mothership, which has been a project for nearly 1,000 years, has also successfully built a prototype. This ship is a work of painstaking efforts by engineers and military experts from the Fanshan World and Makra World, as well as from the Divine Throne World. It carries the expectations of countless people. The total length of the ship is about 70,000 meters, and the height is nearly 30,000 meters. The overall length is flat, and there is a very large shipyard inside that can repair several destruction-class ships at the same time. It is equipped with 1 giant dark matter annihilation cannon, 4 large dark matter annihilation cannons, more than 100 medium dark matter annihilation cannons, as well as a large number of small dark matter annihilation cannons and countless dark energy rail guns. There are 2 composite giant space-time shield systems inside, one for normal use and one for backup. In addition to these, there are several smaller large-scale space-time shield systems to protect important parts of the battleship. Because the space is large enough, this Annihilation-class ship can even carry millions of people in a city on interstellar voyages. It is a genuine interstellar voyage carrier. However, rather than treating it as a long-distance colonial mothership, it is more suitable for the role of a war factory. The Annihilation class has extremely complete manufacturing equipment and assembly centers inside. With sufficient materials and energy, even Apocalypse, the most powerful land war god in the world of justice, can be manufactured, not to mention warships with extremely mature manufacturing processes such as destruction, and destruction. However, Binghua positions this metal behemoth, which is several times larger than the Skyblade, as an auxiliary ship that integrates battlefield support, logistical supplements, emergency repairs, and many other uses. Although such a battleship is very powerful, the difficulty of manufacturing it is really not low. Only Fanshan World has the ability to build such a huge battleship, and there is currently only this prototype ship in the entire Justice World. However, after the prototype ship was produced and performed well in a series of tests, Fanshan World was given the task of producing 2 ships. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 775. Queen, we have explored all the star fields around the world of justice and found that except for the star fields near the border of the Chaos Star Sea, there are signs of activities of the Eternal Ascended Ones in other star fields. In addition, we also found the gathering place of the Chaos Virus by reverse tracing the Chaos Army that once invaded the world of Kaya, where a terrifying number of Eternal Ascended fleets and the Chaos Virus gathered. After Ran entered the hall, he reported to Binghua on the throne with a very sad tone. Ran, I have expected this for a long time, whether it is the Eternal Ascended One or the Chaos Virus. They are different from us. Their armies and soldiers can produce endlessly as long as they have sufficient energy, but we cannot. It takes at least hundreds of years for an angel warrior to become a qualified warrior from birth, and even for mortals, it takes nearly 20 years from birth to becoming capable of combat. In these 20 years, the Eternal Ascended Ones could at least create fleets that destroyed several worlds and hundreds of millions of mechanical warriors. I don't need to say more about chaos viruses, I believe you also know their characteristics. Binghua stood up from the throne and came to Ran's face. He put his hand on her shoulder and said solemnly, "It is precisely because they are like this that I must accumulate strength to defeat them in one fell swoop, cripple them until they are no longer capable of attacking the world of justice. As long as I can win this war, even if the Super Legion I spent all my efforts to build is wiped out, it will still be worth it. Because from now on, there will be one less enemy in the Chaos Star Sea who will continue to bleed our righteous world." After saying this, Binghua crossed Ran and walked towards the door between the thrones. Ran looked at the queen's back, still so confident and indifferent, as if no difficulty could make her tall and straight figure bend even a little bit. As the Angel of Judgment completed its exploration of the surrounding star field, the war machine of the Justice World also began to operate. The political system of the Just World is actually extremely contradictory in the eyes of some civilizations, because in normal times the Just World is an extremely loose alliance. Each world has its own government and social system that conforms to the characteristics of civilization, but only the laws are formulated by the world of God, and all worlds are similar. These worlds have their own fleets, their own defense forces, and even elite legions, as well as supporting industrial systems. In addition to being more independent politically, they can also decide independently whether to send an expedition fleet to explore new colonial stars outside the world of justice. But when the throne world as the center issues an order, all the worlds will cooperate extremely, and both resources and manpower will be mobilized by the throne world. The governors and leaders of various worlds do not dare to have any small thoughts at all, which results in the extremely powerful mobilization ability of the righteous world. So when Binghua called the Minister of Military Affairs and the Minister of Interior and asked them to mobilize the entire Justice World to prepare for the great expedition, the entire Justice World was moved by this. In the world of God's throne, in the vast square in front of the God's throne, phalanxes of thousands of people stood neatly for review. All of them were wearing dark demigod Type 5 armor and were nearly 3 meters tall. Super Legionnaire. Behind them are demigod warriors about 3 meters tall, and behind them are God Guard soldiers who are over 2 meters tall including armor. Fearless warriors of the righteous world, I believe you all know who I am. Yes, I am the goddess you believe in. Binghua stood on the high platform, and her face and figure were projected by communication equipment onto the light curtains of all the homes in the Justice World that turned on the news. Thousands of years ago, I led you to establish a foothold in this starry sky, establish a home, and repel the chaos virus and eternal ascended ones that threatened our security. Our righteous world has also ushered in a period of peace, But our enemies do not want us to enjoy this hard-won peace. Just 100 years ago, the Eternal Ascended launched an all-out attack on our righteous world without any warning. Then the chaos virus came to join in the fun, and the world was completely devoured in the blink of an eye. Fortunately, in the end we blocked the front of the Chaos Army and blocked them from the Kaya world. In the end, our soldiers went through all kinds of hardships and finally drove them back to their hometown. For this reason, countless mothers have lost their sons, countless children have lost their fathers, and countless wives have never seen their husbands farewell. But this is not enough, not enough. Our enemies are still alive, their sharp teeth are still there, and they are ready to take another bite of fat on us at any time. So we are going on an expedition, a great expedition, and this expedition is not for the so-called honor, nor for your beliefs, but for our common future. For the future, no more mothers will lose their sons, no more children will lose their fathers, and no more wives will lose their husbands. So we have to leave our warm homes, our loved ones, and all the happiness and beauty we have. We are going to the unknown depths of the starry sky, to the enemy's homeland, and to fight unknown dangers and unknown enemies. We will pull out their fangs, cut off their claws, and break their spines so that they will never dare or be able to be our enemies. Binghua's passionate voice aroused the hearts of all the warriors present. Their eyes were firm and their hearts were filled with a strong desire to fight. After Binghua finished speaking this long series of words, he glanced at the hundreds of thousands of eager eyes below that were looking at her, and said again, "This war is destined to be full of blood and death. I believe that many of you here will never be able to return to the place where you were born and raised. I can't resurrect you, and I don't have the ability to make you fearless of death. The only thing I can do is to turn what you have done into an immortal monument and stand here forever. So tell me your choices. Should you stay in a warm home, or step out of the house and bravely move forward into the unknown?" Binghua opened his arms and waited for the answers from the soldiers below. The next moment, almost all the soldiers clenched their fists to their chests, performed a military salute, and shouted in unison, "I come, I see, I conquer." This live broadcast addresses the great crusade of the entire righteous world. Strictly speaking, it is a political show. In fact, Binghua did not want to engage in this. However, under the joint persuasion of the Minister of Interior and the Minister of Military Affairs, he reluctantly agreed to this speech. The result was also a huge gain. As the goddess of justice in the world before this time, Binghua rarely appeared in public and rarely made public speeches. But Binghua's speech this time greatly increased the support of the residents of the justice world for the Great Crusade and boosted the morale of all soldiers. And the phrase "I come, I see, I conquer" has become a common slogan recognized by various armies. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 776. As the strategic plan of the Great Expedition was launched, the 20 super legions were divided into three, namely the 1st Expeditionary Army, the 2nd Expeditionary Army, and the 3rd Expeditionary Army. Among them, the commander of the 1st Expeditionary Group is Hemingway, the commander of the Demigod Army. Accompanying her were Binghua, the goddess of the world of justice, the 1st Mixed Male and Female Angel Legion, nearly half of the Demigod Legion, the only Annihilation-class mothership, a dozen god fleets, and a large number of expeditions to directly governed worlds. Fleet, massive defense force. The 2nd Expeditionary Group is commanded by the Commander-in-Chief of the Divine Guards, Langrim, and is accompanied by the Archangel of Judgment, Chang Ran, as well as numerous Archangel and high-level Judgment Angel battle groups, as well as 10 fleets of gods, and a large number of direct world expeditions. Fleet, 500 fully equipped elite legions, and a large number of defense forces. The 3rd Expeditionary Army, commanded by Queen Chi of Elers, is accompanied by the 2nd Angel Legion commanded by Alan, a full complement of 60 elite legions from the original world, all the expedition fleets from the original world, and the Immortals chapter. A huge number of defense forces. Each expeditionary group army has its own independent top tactical planning department, which is used to coordinate the overall situation. The reason why the troops are divided into 3 parts is to streamline the command structure, and on the other hand, there are 3 star areas that need to be attacked. These 3 star fields are the number 8 star field that is closest to the world of justice, the Death Star field that is separated from the Chaos Star field, and the Purified Star field that is the farthest and has the most discovered enemies so far. These star fields range from large to small. The small ones only have thousands of planetary systems, the large ones have tens of thousands, and there are hundreds of thousands. The reason why there is such a difference is that some star fields have more stars, so the planetary systems, the more there are fewer stars and therefore fewer planetary systems. In order to support this great expedition, thousands of worlds in the world of justice not only did their best, but also sent their own standing armies, leaving only the basic troops to maintain order. At the same time, there has been no follow-up recruitment plan. Stop. These worlds will continue to provide fresh blood to the Great Crusade until the crusade has achieved its goals. The existences that can sit on the World Council are not weak-minded, and they all understand the significance of this great expedition. This is not the time to care about their own interests, otherwise they will pay even greater benefits in the future. As soon as the second expeditionary group arrived in the 8th star field, it immediately deployed its troops and moved out in several directions based on the intelligence to attack some of the automated bases established by the Eternal Ascended in this star field, as well as the wandering purification fleets. The 3rd Expeditionary Army entered the Death Star territory and soon discovered traces of some chaotic creatures. This time, because it was no longer a defensive battle, the 3rd Army used a large number of area of effect weapons to turn the world infected by chaotic creatures along the way into burning stars. When the flames that burn the stars are extinguished, the soldiers of the 3rd Expeditionary Army will step onto the charred earth and shoot the surviving chaotic creatures lurking underground one by one with the weapons in their hands. This method was learned by the Just World from the Eternal Ascended, the old rival of the Chaos Virus, although this act of igniting the entire planet would seriously damage the planetary environment and the life on it. It will take a lot of time and investment to restore the original environment of the planet afterwards, but it has to be said that this method is extremely efficient in eliminating chaotic creatures. As soon as the fire sweeping across the world's surface breaks out, the troops of the 3rd Expeditionary Army only need to wait there quietly. After that, what they need to face is a piece of scorched earth and chaotic creatures that have lost their war potential. I have to say that when it comes to dealing with chaotic creatures, the Eternal Ascended ones who have fought with them for thousands of years are more professional. As for Binghua's 1st Expeditionary Group Army, they headed straight for the Purification Star territory. I still have some memories of the Star territory ice flower. I remember that the soldiers of the 1st Angel Legion and their families all lived in the Star territory and were constantly strangled by the Eternal Ascended ones. Kaza, do you have any ideas about returning to the Star field? Binghua sat on his throne, raised his fingers to support the side of his face, and casually asked a blonde heroic male angel sitting on a chair below. Queen, I don't have any special feelings. I almost died here. The only memories I have of this place are the intelligent machines that constantly attacked our gathering place, and the difficult days of wandering around. Kaza said with emotion, compared to the young, ignorant, and impulsive version of himself 1,000 years ago, Kaza's personality has changed a lot now, and even his tone of voice has become very smooth and soft. It was so gentle. This once made Binghua very surprised, and she felt that Kaza had been taken over by something. Finally, I found out that Kaza was married to a female angel and had a lovely angel daughter. This once made Binghua couldn't help but sigh, could this be the power of love and family? Binghua also met Kaza's wife, a female angel with a very gentle and generous personality. I remember that I was so nervous when I first met myself that I almost couldn't speak. Binghua understood this very well. After all, the other party was not a warrior, but an ordinary angel civilian who opened a flower shop in Xintian City, the world where angels lived. In addition to Binghua on the throne and Kaza, who is the commander of the First Angel Legion, there are also elite legions and legion commanders from various worlds in the hall where Binghua is now. At this moment, these legion commanders are sitting on metal chairs neatly arranged on both sides of the hall. Those who are familiar with each other are whispering about the upcoming war, and those who are strangers to each other will say hello to each other. Binghua didn't mind this. She was not the kind of person who paid attention to dignity, and she even sometimes got along with the soldiers under her command. Over time, these legion commanders who once had a strong belief in the goddess gradually became accustomed to the goddess's style and gradually relaxed. This certainly does not mean that they have no respect for the goddess. In formal occasions, they will consciously enter their roles and are the staunchest supporters of the goddess. Your Excellency Goddess, we have entered the purification star field and encountered a purification fleet. However, this purification fleet has been destroyed by the forward fleet of gods, but we discovered a planet full of the creations of the Eternal Ascended One. Commander Hemingway has ordered the expeditionary forces forward troops to launch an attack on it. A male angel stepped into the hall, knelt down on one knee and folded his wings, bowed his head and reported to Binghua respectfully. Already had a battle code with the Eternal Purifier? However, we unexpectedly encountered a lone purification fleet. It seems that the Iron Gangsters haven't reacted yet. This time we launched a massive attack. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 777. By the way, does Hemingway have any other news for you to report? Facing Binghua's inquiry, the male angel quickly spoke up. Commander Hemingway, I would like to ask the goddess if she has any ideas about attacking planet 15246, and whether she needs to go to watch the battle. Binghua thought for a moment, and there was nothing wrong with staying here, but there was no need to go there in person. His arrival might put pressure on the top tactical planning department ahead. I won't go. I'll leave the command of the front to him. I'm very relieved, so I can just let him command the operations with peace of mind. After saying that, Binghua raised his hand slightly to indicate to the angel warrior that he could go down. However, although Binghua did not plan to go to the front line in person, this did not prevent her from turning on the projection and understanding the situation on the battlefield through the observation equipment on the front line. Planet 15246 is the first planet that the First Expeditionary Army encountered when entering the Purification Star territory where Eternal Ascended troops were stationed. As the Commander-in-Chief, Hemingway was very surprised by this, because in the records of the World of Justice, there is no record of which planet the Eternal Ascended Ones resided on and carried out construction. Therefore, Hemingway was surprised when he discovered this planet, but soon Hemingway's keen sense of war told him that this was likely to be an extremely important place for the Eternal Ascended One. Therefore, Hemingway did not allow the vanguard troops to immediately land, occupy and destroy the Eternal Ascended facilities on the planet, but directly blocked the outer space orbit of the planet. Then Hemingway, who had already gained air superiority, did not hesitate to order the fleet to conduct orbital bombing. For a time, countless sparks fell from the sky like raindrops. Horrible fire clouds suddenly rose from the surface. Even the shipboard commanders staying inside the outer space orbital expedition fleet battleship could see the gradually spreading firelight on the planet's surface through the portholes of the bridge. This bombing lasted for several days, and almost the entire surface of planet 15246 was plowed. Although the ground buildings of the Eternal Ascended were protected by purification energy fields, a large amount of money was still lost under this continuous bombing. Facility. Almost at the same time that the purification fleet patrolling around planet 15,246 was eliminated, Seminary, as the host of the Eternal Ascendant, already knew the news of the attack by the Justice World Army. The purification fleet and mechanical warriors approaching planet 15,246 have all rushed to support, and Seminary is already gathering forces from the entire purification star field to prepare to defeat the first expeditionary army of the Justice World. During this 100 years of truce with the world of justice, Seminary did nothing. After careful analysis and calculation simulation, Seminary came to the conclusion that the Eternal Ascended need more automatic production factories, more resource refining factories, more purification fleets, and more destroyer sequence mechanical warriors. So under the instructions of the Supreme Host Seminary, for 100 years, the Eternal Ascendant frantically expanded its production capacity, purifying the flagship and attached annihilator battleships and manufacturing them for free. In addition to battleships, the output of high-sequence mechanical warriors called destroyers has also increased several times. Even the mechanical warriors of the destroyer sequence have achieved small-scale mass production with the support of the Seminary host's accumulation of production capacity at all costs. What the first expeditionary army saw in the purification starfield. Planet number 15,246 is one of the resource-refining planets of the Eternal Ascender. The entire planet is covered with criss-crossing transportation channels, and there are intelligent mining and refining machines underground. The roughly refined minerals and various resources will be synthesized into various types for manufacturing and purification in the transformation, refining and smelting centers all over the planet. Or the alloy of the hull. Later, large transport ships will come regularly to transport these processed and divided alloys to the general production and assembly center of the purified star territory for final cutting and assembly. Now that the planet that provides raw materials for the general assembly and manufacturing center of the purified starfield is under attack, the Eternal Ascenders made some calculations and found that they must drag the first expeditionary group army to the 15,246 planet to prevent the war from spreading to other planetary systems. Retain the production capacity in the purified star field to the greatest extent possible. Compared with the Eternal Ascended ones 100 years ago, today's Ascendants have changed their combat and development strategies after discovering that they cannot gain much advantage in the frontal battlefield with the righteous world. The Eternal Ascended Seminary host also plans to take the route of supremacy in numbers, learn from its old rival Chaos Virus, and drown its enemies with countless troops. In fact, these 100-year-old Eternal Ascendants are doing the same thing. If they now fight enemies in other galaxies, the automatic assembly factories behind them can continuously produce purification fleets and destroyer-level mechanical warriors in batches. Although this cannot get rid of the common problem of mass production, these mass-produced war weapons do not have an autonomous combat intelligence core and can only fight according to pre-programmed procedures. The first expeditionary force encountered this kind of enemy before, with rigid tactics and rigid swarm attack formations, but was reduced to cosmic debris by the expedition fleet's concentrated fire. After the first expeditionary army blocked the surrounding planet 15,246 for 10 days, the first wave of support fleet of Eternal Ascended ones finally arrived. The vanguard fleet of the first expeditionary force, which had been prepared for a long time, gave this fleet a head-on attack while waiting for work. The purification flagships with a length of 1 kilometer were broken through the defense of the purification energy field under intensive bombing, and exploded into irregular pieces of metal debris, adding new cosmic garbage to the planetary system where planet 15,246 is located. Even if the expeditionary force achieved victory in this fleet battle that took place outside the planetary system where 15,246 is located, it did not come without any cost. Several destruction-class ships were slightly damaged, more than 10 destruction-class ships were severely damaged, and nearly 20 destruction-class ships were seriously damaged. However, due to the existence of the Annihilation-class mothership, these damaged warships will not withdraw from the battle sequence, but will retreat to the expeditionary force for repairs. After that, purification fleets with the purification flagship as the main force continued to attack. Although they were destroyed every time, more and more damaged battleships of the first expeditionary force were being damaged. The reason for this is that the repair speed of the Annihilation class gradually cannot keep up with the damage speed of the battleship. Hemingway felt a little troubled by this. Although his side had won every fleet battle with the Eternal Ascended during this period, the frequency of the purification fleet's attacks had not decreased at all. This is tantamount to cutting flesh with a dull knife and constantly bleeding the expeditionary force. Binghua naturally noticed this situation and wanted to break through the current predicament strategically more than Hemingway. An inexplicable idea popped into Binghua's mind. That is to design a large ship specifically for rapid maintenance on the battlefield. Wouldn't this alleviate this situation? Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 778. As the goddess of the world of justice, Binghua did what she thought without informing others. As one of the four former Merlot heavenly kings, in addition to participating in the design of some of the weapon systems of the Skyblade, she was also proficient in ship engineering. The Sky Sword series of battleships is one of her works. However, as the power of the angels gradually expanded, coupled with the surge in individual combat effectiveness and the emergence of single-body super-light flight, this kind of warships could only provide some fire support and transportation functions. The battleships were gradually removed from active service and production ceased. Now that Binghua had returned to battleship design after nearly 10,000 years, it didn't feel unfamiliar to him. Using the theories and knowledge he had learned, Binghua quickly designed a more suitable hull. After thinking about it, as a warship that was born for the main purpose of battlefield maintenance, it must have strong maintenance capabilities and sufficient material reserves. Thinking of this, Binghua designed a large-scale energy printing gun that can be flexibly adjusted based on the existing energy material printer. After that, Binghua revised and revised it for a few weeks. When she felt that the design was almost completed, she directly transmitted it back to the world of Markla and Fanshan, asking these two worlds to build a prototype ship first to see if there are no flaws. After all, practice is the most appropriate means of testing truth. When the first expeditionary group was distracted by the Eternal Ascended's refueling tactics, the second and third expeditionary groups also changed from a rapid advance at the beginning to a steady progress. The reason why this is the case is because in the Death Star territory, due to the rash advance of the 3rd Expeditionary Group, the rear supply channel was almost cut off by the Chaos Army. The world of Sankana, the supply transfer base established, was almost infected by chaos. If Elan hadn't led half of the Angel Legion to quickly return for reinforcements, the 3rd Expeditionary Group army might have been cut off from supplies and would have been surrounded by chaotic creatures. The 3rd Expeditionary Army, which had been carried away by the ignition point, restrained its carelessness. As the commander-in-chief, Chi felt extremely ashamed of this. After this incident, Chi, Elan and the Supreme Tactical Planning Department jointly discussed and finally chose to let Elan and her highly maneuverable Angel Legion protect the logistics route and prevent it from being stolen by chaotic creatures again. For an angel who can fly faster than the speed of light in the universe, this task cannot be easier, and when the Chi Front Army encounters a crisis, they can also rush to help quickly. Compared with the 3rd Army that almost overturned, the 2nd Army is much more stable. Neither Langrim nor Ran are adventurous people. One likes to stick to a stronghold and fight stupidly, while the other wants to win steadily and fight steadily. The style of the combination is like this. When encountering a planet with eternal ascended ones, orbital bombardments were first used to cleanse the planet, and then the high-level judgment angels under Ran's command broke in to open up a safe landing point. Immediately afterwards, the warship began to airdrop various defense facilities and modular large-scale land-based dark energy railgun components to build a solid fortress forward base on the ground. When all preparations are completed, the elite legions and divine guards on the surface will advance with the support of dark energy railgun fire and heavy-duty vehicles to crush any enemy standing in front of them. Ran ordered the high-level judgment angels to cooperate with the fleet in orbit to gain absolute air supremacy to cover the offensive of the ground combat forces. In response to this metal craze that was crushing with openness and dignity, the ground mechanical army of the Eternal Ascended Ones was smashed into pieces. Relying on such tactics, although the Second Expeditionary Army's advance in the 8th star field is slow, it is extremely stable. All the Eternal Ascended can do is to drag, forcefully drag, and rely on its strong war potential to drag. Death Expeditionary Force. Because in the eyes of the Eternal Ascended One, every soldier of the Expeditionary Force dies and one battleship is lost, and the combat effectiveness of the Expeditionary Force's fleet is reduced a bit. For every time the Eternal Ascended One loses one battleship, he can build 2 more at the rear and arrive at the battlefield quickly. Every time he loses one mechanical warrior, he can build 10 more. Under such a trade-off, the just world suffers greatly, because the Eternal Ascended One has no human cost, while the just world needs to train all personnel, including shipboard logistics and command. Binghua naturally knew this, so as soon as the world of justice gained the ability to compete with the Eternal Ascended Ones, he started the Great Expedition, pursuing a speed. Purifying the star territory, after more than 2 months of fighting with the Eternal Ascended in the universe near planet 15,246, Hemingway finally changed his tactics. Goddess, I intend for you, the First Angel Legion and part of the God's fleet to stay here to continue to resist and destroy the incoming Purification fleet and mechanical warriors. According to reports from various reconnaissance forces during this period, there are many planets like planet 15,246 in the Purification star field, which provide them with a steady stream of raw materials. I feel that if we don't destroy these planets first, the troops of the Eternal Ascended Ones will appear continuously, killing and destroying them endlessly. Hemingway stood under the throne, raised his head slightly to look at Binghua who was sitting on the throne, and told everyone present his thoughts without any concealment. Commander Hemingway, are you planning to put the goddess in danger? We warriors of the goddess are still here. Before we are all dead, no enemy can get close to the goddess. A Super Legion commander said dissatisfiedly. Although the other Legion commanders did not speak, their meanings were similar. Carlos, can't you see what's happening now? If this continues, the soldiers of our expeditionary force will just waste their precious lives here without any value. Those intelligent machines have no families and children to accompany them. Now their production base must be destroyed first, otherwise the war on planet 15,246 will never end. Seeing that Hemingway, the commander of the 1st Expeditionary Force, and Carlos, the commander of the Super Legion, were arguing in front of the goddess, Kaza shook his head slightly, took a step forward, and spoke. You two should stop arguing. We are currently having a tactical planning meeting. Hearing this, Hemingway and Carlos shut their mouths. Normally, Carlos would not disobey Hemingway as the commander, but this was a tactical planning meeting. There was no difference in status among those present, and they could have any ideas. Speak freely. I think we can directly capture planet 15,246, and then use it as a basis to build a fire fortress to withstand the attack of the Purification fleet, so that our pressure will be much less. Then we don't have to all crowd here, we can attack everywhere to disrupt the Eternal Purifier's attack rhythm. Carlos also expressed his thoughts, and then other Legion commanders also spoke freely, and various unscrupulous tactics were constantly proposed.